Hi guys, welcome to the class. In this lecture, we are going to see what is air traffic control and what are the different types of services extended by these air traffic controls and operations linked with air traffic control, nothing but ATC, and the radar coverage, and also the Indian Air Traffic Control Services. So, what is air traffic controlling? Here, the air traffic control is a service provided by the ground-based controllers who direct the aircraft on the ground and through controlled airspace and can provide advisory services to aircraft in non-controlled airspace. In non-controlled airspace. Here, the main advantage of this air traffic control is of these air traffic controls are also controlled by the ground-based controllers who direct the aircraft on the ground and through controlled airspace. If if is there any missing happens, so these advisory services provide to the aircraft in non-controlled airspace. To prevent collisions, air traffic control enforces traffic separation rules so that the air traffic control prevents collisions and also ensure each aircraft maintains a minimum amount of empty space around it at all the times. So this air traffic control prevents majorly the collision between the aircrafts and also maintain the minimum amount of airspace between these aircrafts and also an empty space around an aircraft at all the times. So what are the different extended services these air traffic control gives? In many countries, the air traffic control provides services to all the private, military, and also the commercial aircrafts which are operating within its airspace. Many aircrafts also have collision avoidance systems which provide additional safety by warning to the pilots when other aircrafts are getting close. These pilot in command is the final authority for the safe operation of aircraft, and in an emergency he may deviate from air traffic control instructions to maintain safe operation of the aircraft. So the pilot in command is the final authority for the safe operation of these aircrafts. In an emergency, he may deviate from the air traffic control instructions to maintain the safe operation of those aircrafts. If an aircraft has been hijacked, so it is an emergency need which has to be kept in mind to the pilot that the air traffic control commands cannot be followed by that particular pilot so that he can avoid these ATC instructions to maintain the safe operation of the aircraft, safe operation of the operator. So in 1921, in 1921, Croydon Airport, London, was the first airport in the world to introduce these air traffic controls so that the first ATC tower regulating all the activities of aircraft at a specific airport opened in Cleveland in 1939. In 1930, sorry. Approach or departure of control facilities were created after adoption of these radar systems in the 1950s to monitor and control the busy airspace to monitor and control these busy airspace around larger airports. These radars has been adopted. So what are the operations linked with ATC, air traffic control? The operations which are linked to ATC are airport control, ground control, local air control, approach and terminal control. So, what is airport control? What is airport control? Air traffic controllers are responsible for the separation and efficient movement of aircraft and also vehicles operating on the taxiways and runways of the airport itself. If if an aircraft in the air near the airport, generally 5 to 10 nautic miles, which is of 9 to 18 kilometer, depending on the airport procedures, the controllers may use a radar system called secondary surveillance radar for airborne traffic approaching and departing. So these air traffic controllers are the major responsible for the separation and efficient movement of the aircraft and also vehicles operating on the taxiways and runways of the airport itself. So if the aircraft which is in the taking off position and an aircraft asks permission for the landing at the airport, so that these conditions can be controlled. These conditions are also responsible for the sufficient and efficient movement of those aircrafts. So these air traffic controllers are major responsibles in those conditions and also to maintain the speed while landing, particular speed while landing or particular speed to take off, particular speed to take off. So the controllers may use a different radar systems called secondary surveillance radars for airborne traffic approaching and departing. This is the runway and these are the taxiways. Here you can see this is intersected runways here and this is the taxiway. Ground control. The ground control is known as ground movement control and is responsible for the airport movement areas as well as areas not released to the airlines or other users. This generally includes all taxiways, inactive runways, holding areas, and some transitional aprons or intersections where aircraft arrive. Having vacated the runway or departure gate, so the ground control is responsible for the airport movement areas as well as areas not released to the airlines or other users. These are the holding areas where the holding positions, taxiway markings allow, and here these are the holding positions, and this is the holding position sign. This is the taxiway, and this is the center line. Here you can observe here. This is the holding positions, and this is the center line here. This one is the center line here, and this is the taxiway. Local control or air control. If local control detects any unsafe conditions, a landing aircraft may be told to go around and be resequenced into the landing pattern by the approach of terminal area controller. Here, if local control detects any unsafe conditions on the runway, a landing aircraft may be told to go around and be sequenced into the landing pattern by the approach of terminal area controller. The ground control must request and gain approval from the local control to cross any active runway with an aircraft or vehicle. With an aircraft or vehicle. So these control authorities, these local controls play major role in maintaining of you know, approvals and gaining approvals and have. So these local control gain approval from the ground controls must request and gain approval from the local bodies to cross any active runway with an aircraft or a vehicle. So the approach and terminal controls. Here, the terminal controllers are responsible for providing all air traffic control services within their airspace. Traffic flow is broadly divided into departures, arrivals, and overflights. The terminal control is responsible for ensuring that aircraft are at an appropriate altitude when they are handed off and that aircraft arrive at a suitable rate of landing. So the approach and terminal controls plays a major role in the traffic flow is which is broadly divided into landing, departures and arrivals on over flights. So the terminal control is a measure responsible for ensuring that aircraft at an appropriate altitude when they are handed off. So this is the airspace regions. Airspace regions. Here, this is the airport here. This is the aircraft. So an approval has to be gained by the uh, aircraft so that the landing procedures can be said to the pilot when is there any safe conditions or unsafe conditions on the uh, runways. So if the conditions are suitable and are safe, the aircraft can land easily. If the conditions are unsafe, the runway has not been emptied, so there is a taking off plane, aircraft has been in the taking off position, so that these aircraft can be hold for a second and tell that pilot, tell that staff or crew to take around and wait for call to the land. Here, the radar coverage. Long range radars are used and are capable enough at higher altitudes to see aircrafts within 200 nautical miles, that is nothing but of 370 kilometers of the radar antenna. So a radar achieve systems RAS keeps an electronic record of all the radar information, preserving it for a few weeks. When an aircraft has disappeared from radar screens, a controller can review the last radar returns from the aircraft to determine its likely position of the aircraft. If an aircraft has been disappeared in the mid-air, something any damage to the aircraft, these disappearances uh, in the history we have seen that there are so many disappearances, and here when an aircraft has been disappeared from the radar screens, a controller can review that the based upon the last radar signals which are returned from the aircraft is much helpful to determine its likely positions of that disappeared aircraft. So this is the airport view from air traffic controllers. There is a tower here, and upon that they can view from the air traffic controllers. The what are the basic problems faced by the air traffic controllers? So based on the traffic and weather, based on the traffic and weather, the traffic at airport, arrivals of flights, departures, departures, and hopping aircrafts, layovers. So availability of aero bridges and vacant runways. So the traffic at airport, which which was of arrivals of flights, departures, and hopping of aircrafts, layovers, availability of aero bridges, vacant runways, and also weather conditions plays a vital role in the air, air traffic controls. Heavy rains, low visibility of runway and aircraft, thunderstorms, turbulence, crosswinds at airport, and heavy snowfall. Waiting for clearance. You can see in this image, these aircrafts are waiting for the clearance here and are staying in the runways, holding areas where this aircraft has to be take off, and later these aircraft uh, can gain that call to get into the runway and take off. So the waiting for clearance, and here this is the early morning traffic at Chhatrapati Shivaji International Airport at Mumbai. Here you can observe the landing and taking of flights, and here these are the flights which are going to be take off from that airport. This is the Mumbai airport at, and these are the bad weather conditions. This is the landing in heavy rains. Uh, can't see the runway properly in the uh, crew place on the sitting on this aircraft. These runways can't be visible to the naked eye properly, so that the signals, the lights are helpful for getting into that particular runway. Here, this is the low visibility of light here. The snow or fog, the snow or fog which is surrounded the runway, so that the low visibility of light can be seen in this image. These are the bad weather conditions for the pilots who are in the aircraft. Heavy snowfall. Here you can observe heavy snowfall is a major damage to the, so the runway is more slippery when considered to that of normal conditions. The friction between the road and those tires can be reduced. So a slippery motions for landing can be observed in these heavy snowfalls. In these heavy snowfalls, the crosswinds affecting takeoff and landing. Here you can observe this is the takeoff, while crosswinds at a speed of more than 25 km per hour can be seen, so that the aircraft can tilt, depends upon the air in the direction which it blows. And here in the bottom diagram you can observe this is the landing gear, where landing position of the aircraft when the crosswinds are affecting those aircraft. So these are the most these side wing can hit the runway if the crosswinds blow heavily in particular directions, and these can damage the aircraft and the passengers in the aircraft. So a greater damage can be seen if the crosswinds are affecting these takeoff and landing, so that the pilot has to control those crosswinds to get rid of damage to the passengers who are in the aircraft and also for the runway around. So what are the different call signs? What are the different call signs? In order to ensure safe air traffic, in order to ensure safe air traffic separation, call signs are used by the ATC. These are permanently allocated by ICAO on request, usually to scheduled flights and some air forces for military flights. They are written call signs with a three-letter combination like KLM, LG, SG, followed by the flight number like AI 952, SG 421, and 6E 879. 6E 879. So these are also used in a NATO phonetic alphabet in order to avoid the confusion with letters and letters and flight numbers. That is of ABC spoken Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. Example for C, uh, GABC, C dash GAB are the last three numbers like 345 spoken as three for 5 for N12345. So for example, DLH23LG spoken as Lufthansa 23 Lima Golf. Lufthansa 23 to avoid those phonetical errors while call signals. These these are the alternatives they have find for the DLH23LG so that the words can be decoded by the ATC controllers and can can be helpful to the greater extent. So air navigation service providers, NAPs, and air traffic service providers, ATSPs, India Airport Authority of, sorry, in India, the Airport Authority of India, AAI, and the Ministry of Civil Aviations. Malaysia, under Department of Civil Aviation Malaysia. So Singapore, for Singapore, there are different air navigation service providers and air traffic service providers. So for Singapore, it is Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore, and for United Arab Emirates, General Aviation Authority. For the United States, it is of Federal Aviation Administration, FAA. ATC India Awards. At the ATC Global Awards in 2013, the Airports Authority of India received two awards for excellence in ANSP management outside Europe and North America. These strategic advancements in air transport through AAI's Collaborative Environment Project. Collaborative Environment Project. So AAI, All Authority, Airport Authority of India's significant lead resulted in carbon savings to the tune of 6,885 tons till February 28, 2013, leading to the much needed environmental protection has attracted worldwide acclaim. So the Airport Authority of India won third Asia's best carbon saving. These practice awards in 2013 for developing sustainable strategies. And so far, these are the air traffic controllers which we and air traffic controls which we have. And thank you for your attention, crew. See you in the next class.